16, US having, the best of technology, the people could not come to a conclusion who has actually won. And immediately before the election, there were many deep fakes, and many people believe, many experts believe that these kind of deep fakes had a deleterious impact on the democracy. Because democracy, after all, is based on trust, as other institutions like economics. If you have the currency is also based on trust, that everybody trusts that the currency has a value. And then if somebody creates a counterfeit currency, then the trust is going to reduce, and that will have impact on the economic system. Sometimes economic system may collapse. That's why we have laws against counterfeiting of currency. But we do not have any laws against counterfeiting of human beings, because it was never possible before to counterfeit or to create a fake human being. But today, technology has enabled that, and then the bad players, they can take advantage of the technology and create such kind of products, deep fakes, which has the possibility of undermining the very basis and trust in our society. So that's why, as young people, you have to understand that. And as we find that technology has an agenda of its own, because the technological companies who are driving the technology, they have an agenda. They have agenda maybe to maximize their profits. And then they found out that the best way to have the engagement of the students or engagement of the people is to, upgrade, recommend, create algorithms which will recommend content having negative content, negative impact, outrage, moral outrage. Studies have shown, you can check, scientific papers are there, which prove that any content where the moral outrage, that they have identified 16 terms, and like angry, destroys, and all that. And if any of these words are added to your content, then the possibility of it becoming viral increases by 17%. So what is happening is that our young minds are being manipulated by the technology, and technology gets control of our own minds, because it is said that we human beings, we have ancient kind of minds, and we have medieval institutions, and we have godlike technology. Because biologically our minds have evolved very slowly, and if you see 2 million years ago and today, maybe our minds are more or less the same. The emotions that we experience, what we experienced 2 million years ago, maybe our ancestors and from the chimpanzees and all, we have evolved. The kind of things we have experienced, emotions, fear, greed, love, all these things, more or less, they have cement. Paleolithic brains. We still have Paleolithic brains. Therefore, when we act in the world, sometimes we are guided by our emotions, which have remained more or less same. But we have medieval institutions, the institutions and the laws which were created. These were created when the technology was not that powerful, and the changes have not kept pace with those things. And we have godlike technology. Technology, particularly biotechnology and artificial intelligence, when they are going to merge, then there is possibility of intelligent design being the norm. Human beings will be able to, by merging the biotechnology and artificial intelligence, even new life forms can be created by our scientists. So that is godlike technology. But we still need the wisdom, because if you have very powerful technology, we human beings, historically speaking, are not very good at using that. Like when we had industrial technology 200 years ago, some of the countries who were the pioneers in industrial technology, they used the technology to exploit the entire world. Few countries who became masters of industrial technology, like gunpowder, shipping, and steam engines. So what they did, they used the technology to spread their imperial designs. They colonized the entire earth, many countries, and empires were set up. Then in between, they used the technology to fight the world wars. Then we had World War One, World War Two, communism, and various other Cold Wars and all that. Then we took around 200 years to peacefully use the technology. In artificial intelligence, in biotechnology, there is a fear that the same thing may be repeated. Couple of countries like US, China, and some of the companies, they are leading the technological arms race. But the consequences of this technological acceleration will be felt by all countries. Even those 200 countries who have nothing to do with artificial technology, artificial intelligence, or biotechnology, still they will be called upon to face the consequences of this. If artificial intelligence takes over many of the jobs that human beings used to do, the consequences of job loss will be experienced everywhere. The 200 countries who had nothing to do with artificial intelligence, they will also face tremendous job losses. And similar will be the impact of biotechnology. But this being an arms race, it is very difficult to stop it. If one country stops, suppose US stops it, then China will not stop. And then if some company stops it, others are not going to stop it. So this whole technological race has its own dynamics, and it is like everyone is running to the bottom of the pit. So it's very difficult to know what is going to happen. Suppose all of you are now young people in 2050, 2060. It's very difficult to predict what the world is going to look in 2050, 2060. Therefore, it's very difficult to know what kind of jobs will be there and what kind of opportunities will be there and how to actually prepare for that. So that is the great uncertainty. But one thing is clear, that we are going to face constant change and the strangeness will become very normal. Already people who are in their 30s, they have experienced job losses 4-5 times in 5 years, 10 years. So therefore it is known that, or we can predict that the changes will become very frequent and you have to constantly reinvent yourself, which is very difficult because suppose you have invested your time, money and energy to invent yourself up to the age of 20, you have say taken up education for 15 years and invented yourself as a skilled person in a particular area, then you may find that with the advent of artificial intelligence, what you have learned will become irrelevant in 2 to 3 years, 5 years down the line. And this acceleration is going to progress much faster in future. So you will have to reinvent yourself. You have to let go of whatever you have learned so far, the entire baggage, and then reinvent yourself. And the same thing is going to happen again another 5 years, another 10 years. And because we have long lifespans, and because of the rewards of, you can say, medical technology, we have long lifespans and frequent changes. So constantly we have to invent ourselves, and that is a big challenge. Then how to deal with this? Because to accept change and to reinvent yourself, you would require tremendous amount of mental resilience. And it's not easy to teach, mental resilience. You cannot be mentally resilient by reading a book or by listening to a lecture. There are very few courses on mental resilience and how to reinvent yourself. But this is what is going to happen in future. Some of the experts say that in future, critical thinking, communication abilities, collaboration and creativity is going to be very important. So far as information is concerned, you have a surplus of information and it is at your fingertips. So in the earlier system, you didn't have much information, say 50 years before, you didn't have access to great libraries. So information was scarce. And the model was that you are given some information and you are encouraged to think and find a map of the world and move forward. And even if you were confused and all that, there was still time when in the world you go and through experience you learned to get a map of the world and move forward. But now the time is not available because the change is very fast. You have to invent yourself much faster. As you know, with the advent of chat, GPT and all that, even the computer programming is being done by artificial intelligence now. Because what has happened is that the artificial intelligence has understood or has developed to such an extent that it can grasp the human language. And the human language is the operating system of our civilization. The entire corpus of our creations, linguistic creations, are encoded in the language, in the structure of the language. And by accessing the human language, because we create everything, say our laws and our institutions and our stories and our literature, everything is in human language. And once computers and technology understands the human language and then can play with that and create things, then human beings, whatever jobs they were doing before, these jobs can be taken over by the computers. Because when we work somewhere, mainly we do some pattern recognition and some experience, and we find that gradually the programming, the artificial intelligence is becoming more and more powerful and taking over those tasks. So earlier the issue was that there may have been exploitation by the economic elites. For example, still the workers had power. Suppose in a economic structure, you have the owners of capital and you have labor class and various classes in between. But everybody, although they felt that they might have been exploited by the system to some extent, yet they were relevant to the system. If they can organize properly, they can get a bigger share of the cake. Now, with this accelerating technology, it may so happen that the economic elites may no longer require you. So, a class of people may become totally irrelevant, and the economic elites, they can replace, human workers with robots and softwares and artificial intelligence and all that, and they may not require large sections of the population. So irrelevance is going to be very difficult to deal with rather than exploitation, and therefore that is going to be one of the big challenges that all of you will have to face. So now, what is the solution? Now, can you really depend on what we are telling you to depend? Can you rely on the adults? No, it doesn't appear, because we are the product of an old system. We had kind of stable society. We lived in a period where there was a lot of hope. We knew that if we do this, maybe the future we can see. and there is stability. So we lived in a hopeful time and there was stability. But now we are entering into a period where the stability, concept of stability will be very fluid. Even the identities will become very fluid going forward. And the strangeness will become a new kind of normal. And you have to feel comfortable in an ever-changing situation. So what we tell you may not be very appropriate. You have to find your own way out. And you cannot be certain what I am telling you or what our professors and everybody are telling. That is actually a biased thing or it is wisdom. It will be very difficult for you to distinguish whether it is a word of wisdom or it is bias, because we are a product of the old system. Now, can you rely on technology? Yes, to some extent you can, but only to the extent that you are the master of technology. Because as I told you that the technology, the software and the algorithms are becoming so powerful that they can hack our attention now. Sometimes you might have experienced that you enter into one video, you might have said, okay, I will see for 2 minutes this video in YouTube. And then after that, recommendation, this recommendation, that, this, that. Then you browse through the entire recommendations for 3-4 hours, and then you come out and say, what happened? No, it was never my intention to browse YouTube for 4 hours and to see all these angry videos and demented kind of videos. But why it happened? What happened is that we have a dopaminergic system. We are controlled by dopamine hits, and any video which excites dopamine gives us some happiness, and then we are controlled by that. There is a film, I think Snow movies or something, where the evil queen, he has a mirror, and he asks the mirror continuously, Snow White, okay, Snow White and the dwarfs. Okay, so what happens? The evil queen, is jealous of the beauty of Snow White, and then she's asking the magic mirror, mirror, who is the most beautiful of them all? Now the mirror replies that this is actually a kind of mirror. If you realize, our mobile device is a magic mirror, and we are always asking the magic mirror, who is the most beautiful of them all? When we take a photograph, our own photograph, and post it to Facebook or to Twitter, and then we wait for our friends to like it and to view it and to say something. And if they don't say something, then what happens to us? And if they don't like, then what do we think in our mind? So, validation, social validation. Now, because it generates that dopaminergic system, this like button, which was earlier there inside our mind, now it is externalized. Okay, and therefore we want validation all the time, similar to the the evil queen in the Snow White. So Snow White, the mirror says, magic mirror, that you are the beautiful, you are also beautiful, but the most beautiful is the Snow White. So in a sense, actually, we want that validation again and again through this device. And that is our weakness. And that has been found out by the softwares, by the artificial intelligence softwares of these companies. And then we cannot come out of that. In fact, there has been studies that if somebody is addicted, this is an addiction. When you take alcohol, the kind of addiction you face it. The same kind of addiction is also there in social media. And somebody who is addicted to social media, if you take away his mobile or don't allow him to see those um, social media content for some time, he starts to have the same kind of withdrawal symptom as is experienced by an addict, alcohol addict. There has been scientific studies on that, you can check uh, in the net. So, and this causes a lot of anxiety, lot of depression, anxiety, and some studies are suggesting, and loneliness. There are many students in advanced countries like US where they don't have even a single friend, physical friend. They spend so much of time in this virtual reality that they cannot move around or interact in the outside world, in the real world. So every time actually we upgrade our mobile phones, we downgrade our ability to work in the real world. Why it happens? Because in the online world, we can suddenly vanish. If something happens, somebody says something, we don't like it, we can just delete him. By just wave of the hand, we can delete the person, or we can delete ourselves from the system. We close our account. But in real life, is it possible like that? Suppose my neighbor is creating a lot of noise, noisy neighbor, and then can I just get him deleted by wave of the hand? No, I have to go with a cake and say, Madam, please don't do so much of noise because I have to sleep at night and tomorrow I have to go to office. My children are studying. Please help me in this. So what happens? The real interactions in the social world creates our social skills. But in the online world, you can just vanish, or you can make everybody else vanish. So to that extent, if somebody is living in the unreal world, in the online world for a long time, he will live in a kind of echo chamber. And the echo chamber, which is a kind of demented echo chamber, because everybody is going through content which is angry content and outrageous content. So it has no relation to the real world content. Real world is not like that. I can't be very aggressive face to face with all of you. If I say something which you don't like, you will confront me. So I will have to be careful when I deal with you socially to present myself in the proper way and respond in the proper way. But in the online world, I can say anything and get away with that, because we don't have the rules and regulations to enforce accountability in the online world. Then what I will think, that since in the online world I have told 100 things bad and got away with that, maybe in the real world also I can do something like that and get away. But you cannot do that in the real world, and that will cause you a lot of problems. So if you know that you are in control, and sometimes what happens, we believe that it is our free will, nobody is manipulating it, but it is never like that. We are subject to manipulation, because advertisements are with us for a long time, and we get manipulated by our genes also, because our genes are the records of the experiences of the entire human civilization or entire creation. Billions of years of evolutionary history is encoded in our genes, and we cannot override that. Similarly, our cultural experience, all these experiences which are accumulated in our genetic structure and in our experience, that creates a kind of echo chamber where we respond, and then we are always living in there, like our mind is creating a self, like it is taking stories from here and there and creating and telling us that you are so and so, okay, which is not the reality. But the reality gets more and more twisted the more and more we live in the echo chamber of the social media. It's very difficult to know reality as it is, and when you are under the influence of the social media and technology, it becomes further more difficult. Therefore, the old advice that know yourself becomes very important. Who are we and what we want in life? If all of you are clear about that, what we want in life, who we are, then you will be in a much better position to realize when you are being manipulated or exploited by the technology, and then you can think what you can do and then try to come out from there. If you have, because today information is available, if you have a map of the universe and your understanding of what you want to become, what you are, what you want to become, and then you are in control of the technology, then you can become a very powerful force, because you can use the technology to your advantage. You can teach yourself whatever you want using the technology. If you want to develop your communication abilities, this can help you, technology can help you. If you want to develop your mathematical abilities, again this technology can help you. You can see the videos of, there is a very beautiful animation, math animation video. I think it is 3 brown, 1 blue, something like this, by one MIT professor. And it's a very beautiful animation which helps you to understand very complex concepts of physics and mathematics. Now, if you want to listen to, say, English literature or philosophy, then you can find beautiful lectures by wonderful professors, and you can upgrade your knowledge. So it's an amazing technology which is at your fingertips, but you require the wisdom. You have to develop the wisdom to use the technology and benefit from it. And wisdom is always very difficult to develop, and although we always feel that we have a lot of wisdom, in wisdom matters, if somebody tells that, are you really wise? Yes, I knew that I am a wise person and all that. You just congratulate anybody that you are a very wise person and what a wise saying you have said. Then he will say, yes, I know, thank you very much. You will accept that congratulations, because you tend to believe that you are, wise. You are more wise than the average. But it can never be, on the average, everybody cannot be, wiser than the average. But in these matters of wisdom, we tend to have the confirmation bias. Okay, if somebody tells us that you said very good things, I will certainly say, yes, it confirms. I will suffer from that confirmation bias, and I will tend to believe it. So these are some of the ideas I thought will be useful to you. Can you rely on yourself? So 3 things I said. One is, you cannot rely that much on adults like us. It may be very biased view, or you never know whether it is timeless wisdom or biased thinking, because we have not gone through those difficult days which are now coming to waken us. And can you rely on technology? To some extent, yes, but no, it is dangerous also, unless you control the technology. You control the use of, you know yourself, and you control the use of technology. I will disconnect. If I want today, I will disconnect myself from Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, and nothing is going to happen to me. I will remain disconnected for 2 months. Can you decide that? Yes, if you can decide that and implement it, after 2 months, you can congratulate yourself. Yes, you are in control. But many people, after they disconnect, after 5 minutes, again they will enter. Even after they have deleted their account, because when you delete your account, suppose you got very angry with Twitter, and you said, I will delete the account. What they will do, they will deactivate your account for 30 days, and then after 5 minutes, you will again activate your account. Is this may happen? Okay, so the test for knowing whether you are in control of the technology or you are being controlled by technology to become inaccessible. Can you really can you really take the decision to come out of social media today, and you decide for yourself, I will come out for social media today, and maybe 2 years down the line I'll enter the again. But if you can really fix that and implement that, then you know that okay, you have some control. Then you find out what thought is coming in your mind. So one thing is adults, and then second technology, then third yourself. Can you rely yourself in this age? So for that you have to think in your mind, the thought which is coming in your mind, is it your thought or it is somebody else's thought? You are being manipulated by somebody and that thought has come in your mind. You examine your thoughts. Normally what we think, that all the thoughts which are coming to our mind are our own thoughts. But there is a simple test which will convince you that these are not our thoughts. Just tell your mind not to think. Okay. Now you tell your mind, or you just after this conference you go and sit down somewhere and tell your mind, don't think anything for the next 10 minutes, and see whether it will obey you. For next 10 minutes, if your mind remains still and there is no thought coming in your mind, then you will realize that your mind is under your control, and whatever thoughts are coming in your mind, you are able to control it. But if the thoughts keep on coming, there is a story that somebody told. Somebody went to a sage and asked, how I will meditate and progress. He said that you go home and don't think about a monkey for 5 days and then come back. If you can do this simple thing, then I will tell you how to get self-actualization later on. So he went back and he tried not to think about monkey. No, I will not think about monkey. I will not think about monkey. And for the next 5 days, the monkey thought was coming to his mind again and again, continuously. He could not even stop thinking about monkey, one small monkey. So then you will realize that the thoughts which are coming in our mind is not our own thoughts. So who is generating the thoughts in our mind? These are very important questions, and philosophers have been trying to answer this for 2000 or more years without much success. But you can gradually, if you start examining your mind, these thoughts, where from it is coming and who am I, then you will realize that, like you create your Facebook profile and Twitter profile, what do? You took some photographs here and there, your best photographs, and then you keep it there. And 2 years down the line, you see your profile, such beautiful me, and this is me. So, your mind also does the same with you. Say I have 56 years of memory within me. So what my mind is doing, picking up the best things here and there. 10, 15 best things, best memories, and then projecting in my mind that this is me. Then I get attached to that. So there is like the self that I am experiencing in my mind is actually a visual self, whereas in the real world what I am experiencing is embodiment. So it is three-dimensional, it is embodiment. So this whole thing of embodied experience cannot be replicated in my mind, in image form. So therefore, whatever I believe myself to be actually is not me. It is some here and there small bits and pieces of me, or pieces of good information about me, and then my mind convinces me that this is you, because it has a evolutionary benefit in doing that. Our mind hides most of the experiences we had, genetic experiences and cultural experiences. It hides and only projects a limited kind of things to allow us to move forward and survive. That's why we have survived as the Homo sapiens, and most of the 90% of the animal kingdom has perished under our influence. So these things are becoming more and more important. It is said that even in time of Socrates, everybody is advised, know yourself. Know yourself is the most important advice given thousands of years ago. Now, at that time, if you did not take the trouble to know yourself, it was fine because nobody else could know yourself better than you know yourself in old days. But now the algorithms of these companies can know you better than you know yourself by this device because you have given access to your mind. And using this access, the software companies and the powerful algorithms will know you, what is happening in your mind, they can know you. And once they know you, who you are, they are in a position to manipulate you and to exploit you for their own benefit. Now there is experts fear that like we had imperialism, so we are gradually moving towards data imperialism. Now you see, if data about yourself, what is happening in your mind, what is your personality type, what you are thinking, if all these things are known and if this data is taken to some other country, then using this data, we can be manipulated from outside. There is no need to send army or air force to control another country. If you have data about all the politicians of the country, whatever mistakes they have done in the last 50 years, about the generals of the country, about the bureaucrats, about the college teachers, about the students, all data is in the software in somewhere in San Francisco. Using from there, they can control you. You know, they can tell you this is what negative things which you did 30 years ago, we have this. Now you do whatever we are telling you, or we will spread it and will spoil your reputation or whatever. So that's why what we are going to experience is a kind of data imperialism, where the earlier form of imperialism will change to this data. Whoever owns the algorithms and the data will be in a position to control even another country. So those are the difficulties or the problems which may appear. So therefore, you have a very difficult task. Neither can you trust me, nor can you trust the technology, nor can you trust yourself. So this creates a very difficult situation, and you have to face the challenges again and again. You have to reinvent yourself again and again, and you have to find your own way, and you require tremendous mental resilience to face all this. Anxiety and depression, these things are going to very real problems which you have to face. Regarding climate change and all that is another problem which the world is facing. As you know, when human beings climbed up the value chain, food chain, then the entire environment did not have much time to adjust when we became much more powerful because of maybe cognitive revolution, or what exactly happened is not known, but at some point of time we developed the ability of language, and we developed the ability to collaborate in large numbers using language. Like today we collaborate among 8 billion people of the earth in trade networks, in currency, in economy. The world economy is kind of single economy to a large extent, and single civilization also. And the collaboration is happening among 8 billion people. In India itself, we are collaborating among 1.4 billion people. We are collaborating in creating this democratic structure, in creating this country. So when humans develop the ability to collaborate in large numbers, then we created a lot of ecological pressure on the other species. And the other species could not face this pressure which created, the selection pressure, natural selection pressure, because we became so much powerful vis-a-vis other species that the whole environment did not have time to adjust. Normally what happens, if one particular species becomes more powerful, then the prey of that particular species also becomes more agile, and then the balance is maintained. For example, if the whales become very powerful and very speed, the fish also develop agility, and then the population of the whales and fish, for example lions and antelopes also become swift, and then what happens? Therefore, in a forest, the lions can never fully eat up all the antelopes. So there will be always a balance developed by the nature. But when we went to the top of the food chain, we disturbed the whole thing, because we could develop technology, we could develop language to collaborate among billions of people, and then this exerted a tremendous amount of selection pressure on all the species, and then 90% of the species of the earth are now extinct, and going forward more and more species are going to be extinct. So climate, when we collaborated in large numbers, what happened? We also exerted lot of pressure on the climate system, because we exploited the natural resources and then that also created lot of problems, and climate change is the result. We realized that, for much of the history of the earth, there used to be cycles such as ice age and normal age and all that, a Holocene period. Like, if the temperature of earth has remained more or less in a small band, narrow band, and if there is a 2-degree average temperature increase compared to the Holocene period, then there could be tremendous upheavals. It is now known that we are very close to many tipping points in climate change. The polar ice caps, if they melt beyond a point, then the reflection of sunlight will not happen to the extent which was happening. And then what will happen, that the earth is absorbing more and more heat, and the polar ice caps will melt more and more. And even if we stop further, burning of the fossil fuels, the things are not going to change. If we go over that tipping point, beyond that, even if we totally stop using fossils and all that, still the situation is not going to change. And it is now, experts fear that we are very close to all these tipping points. And although this change of climate issues require lot of global coordination, because no nation actually is sovereign in a climatic sense. For example, you cannot have a wall, say near Mumbai and all that, if the oceans rise. You cannot prevent our cities from submerging coastal areas. If the ice caps melt and the sea level rises, then no country can individually protect itself. Whatever nationalism we may believe that our nation is supreme or good and all that, it's not going to help us much in case of climate change. And gradually we don't see much of collaboration in the international level in climate change. And the countries are also going to respond in different ways, because some of the countries may actually benefit from climate change. For example, the countries which have lot of oil and gas resources, they want that their fossil fuels and all that reserves will help them additional advantages, and they are not very much interested in solar panels, let us say. And if, say, Siberia melts, then those areas may become productive for agriculture, and the Arctic sea routes may become much more beneficial for commerce point of view. So therefore, Russia may feel that they will not be tremendously impacted by the melting of the snow caps. Probably they will have some advantages. So therefore, no country is actually sovereign so far as climate change is concerned, and lot of international cooperation is required, and we don't see much of international collaboration here. And these are some of the challenges which all of us are going to face. So thank you very much, and what I thought is that I will come and spend some time with you, and it is my great pleasure. And all I wanted to highlight was that you have to go after knowledge, and knowledge and education. Education is considered the guardian of the guardians. The guardians of a country are also required to be educated, so that with knowledge only we can go up and down. And that is the only solace or only thing we can do. And we have to work hard, keep ourselves updated, and see that and recognize the changes which are happening, and then respond and prepare ourselves to face the challenges which lie ahead. Thank you very much.